All right, so good to see you all. This is a very good-looking crowd here. You guys look good, right? All right. I do not have props under there. Okay, I want to thank Christabel and Sarah. That was a great introduction, and we are really honored, Christabel and Sarah, to be fighting for public education alongside great student leaders and parent leaders like you. Christabel, it's students like you, and I know you've got a younger sister and brother, and Sarah, it's parents like you and students like your children who are the reasons we do the work that we do. Let's give them another round of applause. I want to, before going forward too much, I want to thank my amazing family. I end up working a lot, and I wouldn't be able to do that without them. My wife, Ann, who inspires me as a partner and as a union steward on her nursing floor. My son, Max, who motivates me with pretty incredible insights for a 14-year-old and his drive. And my daughter, Ella, who feeds me with her sense of humor and her confident approach to the world. Thank you. I love my family. Thank you. I want to thank the great team that I work with, so passionate and powerful. NEA VP Cecily Meyer-Cruz, AFT VP Juan Ramirez, Elementary VP Gloria Martinez, Secondary VP Daniel Barnhart, Treasurer Alex Orozco, Secretary Arlene Inoue, and Executive Director Jeff Good. Thank you for everything you all do. And I know that they did this earlier, but I want to have the UTLA Board of Directors stand up again. Could you stand up, UTLA Board of Directors? I want to just make really clear. I want to just make really clear that these are members who are in classrooms and school offices all day working with our students, and who also play crucial roles in leading the union. That is pretty spectacular. So thank you, Board of Directors. And again, I know this happened a little bit earlier, but I would be remiss if I did not ask UTLA staff members to stand up. These are folks who work day in and day out helping to make us a fighting union. Let's give them a nice round of applause again, our UTLA staff. And Cecily and Arlene went over this, but I just want to say I'm very grateful to have many of our former UTLA presidents with us here tonight. We stand on your shoulders, and we are grateful for your support in this crucial moment. Let's give them another round of applause. Now, the rest of you in this room are the most important people here, our chapter chairs and our chapter leaders. You are the backbone of the union. Give yourselves a huge round of applause, chapter chairs and chapter leaders. So I want to start by talking about what happened this week in bargaining. Some of you might have heard about this. So LAUSD claimed in early July that we were not at a bargaining impasse. They said, come back to the table because we've got something substantial to offer you. Well, this past Tuesday, guess what? I know it surprises you. They offered no movement on the vast majority of our proposals, and they doubled down on insulting us with a paltry salary offer of 2% on the scale and a 2% one-time bonus. Is that acceptable? This, after offering administrators 3% on the scale, contingent on additional PD, and a 3% one-time bonus that could become permanent depending on the budget. Frankly, we find both of those unacceptable. But it is particularly galling that the district believes that we, frontline educators, are at the bottom of the barrel. We're across the street from Beaudry. You all know the Beaudry building. So I want them to hear you. Are we going to accept this kind of disrespect? Your board of directors agrees with you. And they said yesterday, no way, and voted unanimously to send us back to impasse. Now, let's be clear on some punchlines from the outset. We got to establish some punchlines from the outset. The school board that the billionaires put a record-setting $13 million into last year has hired a friend of Eli Broad, an investment banker, as superintendent. Even with our collective victory of forcing Ref. Rodriguez to resign, and that is a victory, even with that collective victory, the driving forces on the school board are moving a privatization agenda. These forces believe that the Supreme Court's Janus ruling attacking unions will help them. Meanwhile, I heard somebody say wrong. I like that. I like the participation. Very good. Very good. I remember often in my 5th period class at Crenshaw High School, students would yell out, "You're wrong." Okay, that's so Janus, that's right. Meanwhile, we're getting back to the punchlines. Meanwhile, the state of California, and I want us to let this sink in. The state of California, supposedly the pride and the model for the Democratic Party, the pride and the model for so-called blue states, is at 43 out of 50 in the states in per pupil funding. But now hear this punchline, and this one's a little bit different. Amidst that troubling picture, educators across the country are rising up like we have never seen before. Let's hear it for West Virginia, Arizona, Oklahoma, Puerto Rico, and Colorado. So we find ourselves at a defining moment. The questions before us are, and you all can participate in this, will we accept overloaded class sizes? Will we accept lies from those who see LAUSD as a business to be downsized rather than a civic institution to protect? Will we accept those lies? No. Will we accept over-testing, privatization, and an insulting salary offer? No. Will we accept disrespect? No. So let's switch up here and get some yeses. Will we instead, sisters and brothers, demand give our kids a chance, stop starving our public schools? Yes. Will we rise to the occasion to take action in this defining moment? Yes. It's within this context that we see multimillionaire Superintendent Austin Buettner applying what he knows. Now, those are not education principles. He does not know those. He is applying investment banking and private equity principles. He's attempting to, and you can read business journals and see this term, he's attempting to wind down this public school district. In the same way he's made his millions, consolidating, cutting, selling off, whipsawing, and profiting, while at the same time trying to hide the ball. In a speech last Thursday, July 19th, reported in the LA Daily News, Buettner reiterated that he refuses to talk about the annual $600 million impact of charter school growth on our neighborhood public schools. He says it's irrelevant and a distraction. Buettner followed this up by saying something chilling, that if we don't bend to his will and make changes on his terms, he expects there will be no more public school district in Los Angeles by the year 2021. Now, let's be clear. Let's be clear. This district has $1.7 billion in reserves and can respond productively to our demands. This district can take action to attract families and increase enrollment while slowing the privatization drain. And this district can use its unique leverage at the state level to fight for more funding. Yet, Buettner refuses. In the same way that Donald Trump's cabinet members, like Betsy DeVos and the disgraced Scott Pruitt, you remember him? In the same way that DeVos and Pruitt attack the very institutions they are supposed to protect, Austin Buettner, the superintendent of public schools, attacks public schools. This is shameful. That was Jared. I recognize your voice. Jared said it was corrupt. I can't see anything up here, but I recognize your voice. And you're right. So one of the things that grounds me, and I'm sure that many of us in the room are the same way, is I'm grounded by my former students, many years, 22 years of former students. And I was recently talking to Channing Martinez, many of you know Channing, who was in my 9th grade class at Crenshaw High School in 2001. He's a community organizer now, and he works near the school. He was reflecting on how much it has changed over these past 17 years. Charters have siphoned enrollment, cherry-picking the most proficient students with the most active parents. The percentage of special needs students has increased with less resources to serve them. School safety and discipline issues have increased. Cuts have created school cleanliness issues, and a charter co-location sapped resources. The district has shifted some academies around and changed the names of some magnet schools, but academic results continue to suffer. The principal was ineffective. I know that surprises you. And took advantage of a demoralized staff to make unilateral decision after unilateral decision after unilateral decision. As this happened, career educators, friends and mentors of mine, revered by generations of students, left the school, were displaced because of declining enrollment, or retired, often more defeated in retirement than celebrated. I think about my friends who have hung tough at Crenshaw, Maynard Brown, a later career teacher, Sarah Wellington, a mid-career teacher, and I think about great folks just coming into the profession, like Maricela Lopez, a fantastic community organizer, now a new teacher, who could perhaps one day teach at a place like Crenshaw. Crenshaw is a microcosm of this district. As Crenshaw's enrollment went from over 3,000 to under 1,000, the district's has gone from over 800,000 to 500,000. It is criminal that career public servants like Maynard and Sarah, and those ready to become public servants like Maricela, spend more time worrying about existential questions than about lesson plans. Questions like, will Crenshaw remain open? Will I be displaced? Will I have enough basic resources to teach my classes? Will my health care survive? Will I have a job? Channing said this: Crenshaw is where I became who I am. It hurts me to see it like this. Crenshaw and all of our schools are being starved. Starved of resources and starved of respect. Crenshaw High School was never perfect, and it's been shaped by institutional racism and classism that affect so much of our society. But even with its problems, when I was there at Crenshaw in 2001, there was a collective sense of possibility. An inspired group of people there making a difference. That has waned, and many of you have seen the same thing at your schools over these last 17 years. Am I right? That starvation and decline is exactly what Austin Buettner and his school board allies want to accelerate. They want to end public education as we know it. Their agenda is austerity. Instead of reversing decades of disinvestment, instead of funding our schools, they want to break our schools down and privatize them. Just in the last year, look at what they've done. They've loosened regulations on charter schools and gotten rid of the Inspector General, whose job it is to investigate charter schools. They have ignored conflict of interest and brought staff and lawyers onto the district payroll from the California Charter Schools Association, which regularly sues that very same district on behalf of the charter industry. They had Reed Hastings and other corporate Democrat billionaires pay Ref. Rodriguez's legal expenses to keep him on the board long enough to hire Austin Buettner. Buettner hired a Broad Academy graduate as chief of staff, someone who oversaw testing in Louisiana and reinforced the 92% privatization of New Orleans schools. Though the vast majority of displaced teachers in LA become so because of charter expansion, not because of quality of teaching, Board Vice President Nick Melvoin said he wants to get rid of all displaced teachers. District staff has made presentations to the board calling for class sizes of 50. And Austin Buettner produced a report that said that educators, you all, us, are 17% overpaid, and that our health care is 44% too generous. The report attacks the salary point system, argues for higher special education class sizes, and pushes for us to do 90 additional hours of PD and longer work days with no additional pay. Check out the flyer on your table about this report. It is very, very important that you know what this report says. And Austin Buettner the investment banker, who I'll remind you has never taught, but who has a history of attacking pensions, is using bargaining to attack our health care. Listen closely to what I'm about to tell you. In the recent administrators' agreement, the ALA agreement, and in the SEIU Local 99 agreement, modest salary bumps went alongside increasing the required years of service to qualify for retiree health care. It was a trade. With the two police unions in the district, Buettner has been even more aggressive, offering slightly higher salary increases in exchange for those unions promising to leave the Health Benefits Committee. The HBC is the union-run entity, which we are the co-chair of, that includes all unions, that has been crucial to saving health care over the last decades. Buettner is literally trying to bribe other unions to start the slow walk towards giving up health care. And make no mistake, it is all focused on leveraging us. That's why it didn't start with us, his biggest adversary. The good news is this, and I'm going to get to a bunch of good news. You got to give me a minute, though. The good news is this, that fresh off our healthcare victory earlier this year, we are optimistic that our LAUSD labor coalition is going to stand and fight against Buettner around this healthcare issue. Let's be clear. Austin Buettner, Nick Melvoin, and Eli Broad's goal is to destroy public education, and that's an ambitious goal. In turn, our program for investment in and revitalization of public education must be ambitious. We must have as our overall goal nothing less than saving the district and public education. Sisters and brothers, we limit our own demands and actions at our own risk. If we win steps forward on salary, for example, but do nothing about the charter drain on district finances and the high class sizes that drive parents away, then those steps forward on salary will be temporary illusions as the district continues to hemorrhage. In other words, higher pay doesn't matter much if you're laid off. Higher pay doesn't matter much if it is just to backfill a concession on health care. We are proud of the breadth and the aggression our bargaining package and campaign. To deal with a 27% cost of living increase in the last 10 years and the oncoming teacher shortage, we demand a fair wage increase. So that the district can no longer unilaterally raise class sizes, we demand getting rid of Article 18, Section 1.5 of the contract. To deal with atrocious ratios in California, like 945 students to one counselor, we demand additional nurses, counselors, school psychologists, social workers, librarians, and more. It's absurd that a TK through 6th grade student in LAUSD faces over 100 standardized tests that interrupt instruction and deprofessionalize teaching. We demand more educator discretion over testing. California, as the richest state in the nation, sits at 43rd out of 50 states in per pupil funding. We demand that LAUSD do more than spout rhetoric. We demand the district wage a war for more state funding. We know that additional staffing is crucial to improving school safety and discipline, but we need more than that. We demand more input and more voice from educators in shaping and implementing school safety and discipline plans. And if the coming years replicate the 287% growth in unregulated charter schools that has happened over the last 10 years, then the district will crumble. So we demand regulations on charter growth and on charter co-location. Many of these demands are crucial to increasing enrollment, which we can do. And there's more to that. We must be building a concrete vision of what we want our schools to look and be like, so that we have a concrete response to the privatizers. This is why we are demanding the district fund a community school transformation process with increasing numbers of schools involved every year. Community school transformations are successful across the country, yielding schools that are driven by an improvement process that is truly bottom up, that has well-funded parent engagement, wraparound services for families, and broadened curriculum that includes arts, music, ethnic studies, career tech, adult education, and more. Community schools are part of our common good demands. Our students will do better. Our families will be more connected. And we will increase enrollment by winning demands like these: a district immigrant defense fund, more green space on our campuses, increasing affordable housing through the district using its unique leverage. And as Christabel talked about, really improving school safety instead of using so-called random searches that racially profile students, interrupt instruction, and increase anxiety. These and other demands are essential to student success, building coalitions and strengthening the public school district. Sisters and brothers, their austerity and privatization program has collided with our investment and revitalization program. And we are at a bargaining impasse. Our great bargaining team has negotiated for 19 sessions, 130 hours, and 16 months. Over that time, we have done leafleting, school site picketing, Big Red Tuesdays, rallies at the school board, coalition actions with parents, faculty meeting boycotts, regional rallies, delegations to elected officials, earned and paid media, and a 12,000-member demonstration downtown. While we will continue to pursue an agreement at every juncture, sisters and brothers, it is becoming clearer and clearer that we are becoming closer and closer to having exhausted all of our options short of a strike. The strike is a weapon that we don't take lightly, as we sit with the presidents who led the 1970 and 1989 strikes. We don't take it lightly, as so many of our co-workers were on the line in '89 and won. We don't take it lightly, as youth, parent, and community partners are by our sides in this fight. We don't take it lightly in how much power a strike can have, and that we would need to wield responsibly, as we've seen done so movingly in West Virginia and in other places. And we don't take it lightly in the amount of organizational preparation, focus, and discipline that we must have. That said, our members are outraged over a corporate superintendent, a corrupt school board, a 2% insult, and the rejection of our proposals by the district. It is because of this that all across this city, we will take strike votes during the week of August 23rd. Are you ready? Are you ready to do that? At this conference, we're going to double down on the discipline we need to carry these votes out. We, as chapter leaders at this defining moment, must lead our co-workers in an overwhelming yes vote. Can we do this? Sisters and brothers, we are ready for this. This past year has given us a foundation for strike votes, and if the district forces us, it has given us the foundation to powerfully strike. Let's look at 2017, 2018. Eli Broad, we'll start off with him. After we beat back his plan to privatize 50% of LAUSD in 2015, Broad came back for more last August. But with the help of allies in Sacramento, we defeated his legislation to create a mega charter school in downtown LA. This prepares us to strike if we need to. And, important, California Speaker of the Assembly, Anthony Rendon, who was crucial in defeating that legislation, will be here with us tomorrow at the PACE reception. This year, our community partners in Reclaim Our Schools LA grew to over 20 of the premier civil rights and educational justice organizations in the city. And they've been a constant presence at the school board. This prepares us to strike if we need to. As part of the broader resistance to the Trump administration's policies, we went on offense as Trump's Supreme Court prepared to rule on the Janus case. We developed the all-in recommitment card that would inoculate us against the worst parts of the billionaire's attempt to undermine unions. And over only 3 months, and through thousands of one-on-one conversations, we have recommitment cards from almost 75% of our members. 100%, here we come. This prepares us to strike if we need to. We will have with us tomorrow at the PACE reception a warrior who directly takes on Trump and the Supreme Court every single day, U.S. Congresswoman Maxine Waters. Having allies like Maxine prepares us to strike if we need to. Through our recommitment campaign and a summer home visit program, we have cut our number of non-members in half. We are at almost 96% members, the highest we have ever been. This prepares us to strike if we need to. As tens of thousands of our members recommitted, thousands also signed up to contribute to our political fund, PACE. In the last 5 months, we have seen a 63% increase in PACE contributions, bringing us to the highest number of contributors in UTLA history. This prepares us to strike if we need to. And speaking of politics, we knocked Antonio Villaraigosa out of the governor's race. After all of the talk about how he would make up ground on Gavin Newsom in LA County, we were a major part of Newsom stomping Villaraigosa by 10 points in LA. Friends, I would dare say that Mayor Privatizer has reached the end of his political career. We got some people banging plates over there. That's good. That's good. That's a good end of a political career. So, one last time, because I'm sure there's an Herbalife office around here somewhere where Villaraigosa is hanging out. There's an Herbalife office somewhere around here. One last time, let me hear you. How happy are you that Villaraigosa is gone? This prepares us to strike if we need to. We got the banging plates over there and we got the clinking cups over there. I like it. I like it. So let's stay on politics for a minute. In the race for state superintendent, we helped Tony Thurmond win LA County, and we're going to help Tony become the next state superintendent in November. And while we're at it, let's do a little bit more politics. Let's talk just a little bit more deeply about the resignation of Ref. Rodriguez. We are proud of the work that our community partners in Reclaim Our Schools LA did to dog him relentlessly over the last months, including going and interviewing people at the Yard House in Pasadena. They rolled dollies of petitions into the school board and delivered them to him, saying that he should resign. They showed up at every single court appearance, and now we're not stopping. We're demanding that all 4-3 votes with Rodriguez as the swing vote should be thrown out. We've demanded that every source of legal and pro bono support for Rodriguez be revealed, because we know there's some other billionaires in there. And there might even be some Russians or Michael Cohen, we're not sure. And sisters and brothers, we have demanded that there be an election to replace Rodriguez as soon as possible. The parents and students of Board District 5 deserve to be represented. But let's be crystal clear about two things. Crystal clear about two things. First, winning that seat does not resolve our contract dispute or our battle with Buettner. Buettner came in on a 5-2 vote, and he circled the civic elites tightly behind him. Second, getting into the schools, and if need be, getting into the streets with our strike readiness plan, shaping the narrative in that very public way, that is exactly what we need to do to compete in that election in Board District 5. That is exactly the weapon we need against the tens of millions of dollars that will come in from the charter industry. Tying our electoral plan to our contract readiness plan will prepare us to strike if we need to and prepare us to win that seat. So let's talk about a little bit more about why we're ready. Through contract enforcement, grievances, and legal action, we now have the final victory against John Daisy's teacher evaluation scheme. Now, let me explain this. You all remember John Daisy? Anybody know where he's superintendent right now? Stockton. Wow, you all pay attention. That was like in unison. Nobody said like Baltimore or something. So let me break this down a little bit. We killed his TGDC. You remember that? We killed TGDC in the 2015 contract when we mobilized and organized. But the courts went further, and they found, just recently, that the district committed an illegal, unfair labor practice by implementing TGDC at all. So LAUSD, and some of you might want to take this and frame it when you get to school. It's a good reason to look forward to going to school. LAUSD must now post this acknowledgement of their illegal action in every school in the city. So Stockton isn't that far from here. So how good does it feel to land that final punch on John Daisy? Let me hear it. Victories like this prepare us to strike if we need to. Parents have awoken and organized like we've never seen before against Proposition 39 charter co-locations. And this year, we saw youth join that fight when Southeast high school students walked out of class and sat in protest of a co-location. This prepares us to strike if we need to. Over the past year, we've increased 50-fold the UTLA social media presence with more followers, shares, and activity than we've ever seen before. Red for Ed social media campaigns in Arizona and other places, we are right here with you. This prepares us to strike if we need to. Our members, and let me just hear from the EEC people out here. Early ed? Got some early ed? Got some early ed. Our members and parents have continued to organize themselves to get rid of bad principals. You know this. At Wilton Place EEC, through public actions, they not only got a principal removed, not only saved the job of a chapter chair who had been unjustly non-reelected, but they also followed the principal to her new school. And they're focused on getting rid of her there. Do not mess with early ed. That is the lesson. This kind of activity prepares us to strike if we need to. We've continued to lead the way on research. Our report called Whose Schools documents the shocking racial exclusion that characterizes many parts of the corporate LA charter school governance. That report made national waves. This prepares us to strike if we need to. And speaking of charter schools, let's talk about the courageous educators at Alliance Charters. After a 3-year, $2 million relentless anti-union campaign by management, these courageous educators filed for union recognition at 3 schools and were certified by the Public Employee Relations Board. Alliance charter educators who are here with us, can you stand up? Where are Alliance educators? Where are they? Where are they? Are they over there? Let's give them a hand. This kind of organizing prepares us to strike if we need to. Our community partners in Reclaim Our Schools LA have made community schools the talk of the town, from demonstrations at the school board, to scores of youth and parent leaders knocking on doors, to the mayor's office, the LA Chamber of Commerce, and university leaders now stating that community schools are the future of public education in Los Angeles. This prepares us to strike if we need to. Do we have any HHS people here with us? Health and Human Services. We recently scored a victory that has thrilled our Health and Human Services leaders. Changing the rating-in system for new and recent hires will help fill critical shortages and will put money in the pockets of our members. Victories like this prepare us to strike when we need to. Let's hear it for HHS. Last year, we built structures at our sites and tested those structures citywide. We elected chapter chairs at over 800 schools. We built over 400 contract action teams. Who's got a contract action team at their school? We gathered 25,000 recommitment cards. And in one of the busiest times of the school year, we brought over 12,000 members to downtown LA on May 24th and shut it down. How many of you were there on May 24th? Who was there on May 24th? These actions prepare us to strike if we need to. We continue our work with the California Alliance for Community Schools, a collaboration of the largest teachers' unions in California. Let's have the presidents and vice presidents from those locals who are here tonight stand over here at this table. Please stand up. With us tonight With us tonight, we've got San Diego. Let's hear it for San Diego. We've got Anaheim. Let's hear it for Anaheim. We've got Oakland. Let's hear it for Oakland. We've got San Jose. Let's hear it for San Jose. We've got San Francisco. Let's hear it for San Francisco. As we build our strike preparation, and as Oakland does the same because they just declared impasse as well, as this happens, these locals see this struggle as all of our struggle. That prepares us to strike if we need to. It has been 1 year since we launched our 20 by 20 campaign. $20,000 per student by the year 2020. This past year, we built a broad coalition in Sacramento aiming to close the carried interest tax loophole that hedge funders have jumped through for a decade. We will continue that struggle this year with legislation this year. That would bring $1 billion into public education. And there's more. And there's more. I'm thrilled to announce to you tonight that through the work with a broad coalition of community and labor across the state, we have just recently completed collecting the 850,000 signatures needed to get the Schools and Communities First initiative on the 2020 ballot. This will be the first time in 40 years that we frontally challenge the Prop 13 corporate commercial property tax loophole. The first time in 40 years that we attack that loophole that has devastated schools and ossified institutional racism. If we pass it, this is $11 billion to schools and social services. Being in these funding battles, being a part of those coalitions, all of this prepares us to strike if we need to. And let's talk about another victory. LAUSD, you'll remember this well. LAUSD spent more than a year grinding the axe against our health care. And then finally came with a proposal. You remember that proposal? Cut dependents off of our plans, introduce premium contributions for employees, opened the door to a two-tier system. We punched back hard. And by the time we had escalated to our regional rallies in November, the district had backed off. We had an agreement by January that protected our health care across the board. Now Austin Buettner is attacking our health care. You remember what I told you about the other union agreements, or the other proposals to the other unions? You remember that? He's attacking our health care now from a different angle. Well, Buettner, let us give you a message tonight. We beat you once this year on health care, and we will beat you again on health care. This fight prepares us to strike if we need to. And finally, sisters and brothers, this year, as part of the leading edge of the National Teacher Union movement, we have been talking and strategizing with the West Virginia, Oklahoma, Arizona, and Puerto Rico teachers who captivated this nation with their strike wave. Through the National Alliance to Reclaim Our Schools organization, we are receiving solidarity commitments to our fight from New York, Chicago, St. Paul, Boston, and more. We have serious backup, and this prepares us to strike if we need to. Sisters and brothers, the time to act is now. Austin Buettner is attacking our health care right now. He's simultaneously trying to weaken our healthcare bargaining for 2020. He refuses to fight for the district, implements austerity and privatization, and threatens that we will not have a district at all by 2021. The time to act is now. The district sits on $1.7 billion in reserve. The privatizers siphon from our schools. The state starves our students. And we're all being starved of the respect we deserve. The time to act is now. We have the unique leverage. We have the unique leverage of our full contract campaign this year. The time to act is now. For Christabel's younger sister and brother, the time to act is now. For Sarah's kids at Lawson Elementary, the time to act is now. For our sister and brother educators, late career, mid-career, and just starting like Maynard, Sarah, and Maricela, the time to act is now. To save public education, our students, our schools, our jobs, the time to act is now. Sisters and brothers, if you are committed to strike, if the district forces us into it, stand up right now. Now that, stay standing up for a minute, just for a minute. That is a beautiful sight. That is a sight of commitment. Now, stay standing and put a fist in the air if you will join me, if you will join your board of directors who did this yesterday, if you will join your area steering committees that did this morning in signing this commitment form tomorrow to build a strong yes vote in the strike vote. Put your fist in the air if you're going to do that. Put your fist in the air if you're going to do that. Let me hear you. You are a beautiful antidote to the privatizers, a beautiful antidote to Janus, a beautiful reflection of the promise of public education. Let's take this energy, this discipline, this commitment, and win the schools LA students deserve. You are educators. Stand with pride, and let's move forward together. Thank you. Have a great night, and let's have a great leadership conference.